हेलो। Good morning.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Um, am I audible? Okay, thank you. Yes, okay, thanks. Sometimes I'm not sure. Okay, hi, everyone. Welcome to the IELTS Masterclass. This is brought to you by IDP and Burlington English. My name is Nina, and I'm going to be your trainer for the next hour and a half. So welcome everyone, master class for IELTS aspirants. Okay, so I see quite a few of you are online. So let me start by asking you, how long have you been preparing for your IELTS, and what are the challenges you face while prepping for the exam? So if you could use your chat box function, please, and just a few answers. So how long you've been preparing for the exam, and what do you find challenging? Just some quick answers, please. Reading, few weeks, correct writing and speaking. Yeah. Oh, 4 days, Sheena. Okay. Uh, so yeah, last 5 months, it's the speaking. So a whole lot of answers. Okay, so I mean, and the most challenging is reading. Uh, there's a week, there's a month. Okay, all right. I understand where you're coming from. Some of you are saying vocabulary. Yeah, vocabulary is sort of related to almost everything in the IELTS exam. Speaking. So let's see. Okay, thank you very much for your responses, and let's see how much we can take care of. Okay, thanks, Neeraj. Thank you, Gavin. Yeah, converting thoughts, you're saying. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. All right. Also, brainstorming the writing part. Yeah, then sometimes that can be a problem, Sabha. You're right. How to decipher text? I'm assuming you mean the reading. Okay, yeah, reading. Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, all right. Let's get started then without any further delay. So before we get started, I must urge you to please log on regularly to the IDP website. And you'll find that it's a fantastic source for you to get practice exercises and also the tips. I find that they're really helpful, what strategies you should use. A lot of the material that I use and some of the tips that I encourage people to use are from the IDP website. So if you're quite thorough in the contents of the IDP IELTS website, you will find that your prep work is a lot easier. Okay, so sometimes I have a bandwidth issue because of which I'm going to now switch off my video for a little while, but when we do Q&A, I'm going to switch my video on again, okay? So that you can concentrate on my screen. I hope that's okay. Oh, I thought I'd switched it off, but I haven't. Right, okay. I think, have I got the speak right? Okay. So here it is, the IDP website, right? Okay, so first little quiz for you. I'd like you to put your answers here, but let's do it really, really quickly so that we can cover as much as possible. I have a set of statements. Please let me know if these are true or false. I may not acknowledge each of you individually, but please put the answers on, okay? Is this true or is this false? Yeah, that's right. It is true. You can appear as many times as you want. Yeah. Okay. What do you think of this statement? Is there a pass for the IELTS exam? Yeah, that's really good. So most of you have got that right. There is no band for passing, and so therefore this is a false statement, right? So you only get bands, and it really depends on what your aim is. Obviously, the higher the bands you get, it's much better for you, but nobody's going to say, oh, you failed or something like that, right? Okay. Let's see this next statement. Do you think you should leave answers blank because of negative marking, or is it better to leave it? Yeah, all of you are saying true, so that's really good. It is true. Don't leave any answers blank. There is no negative marking. So feel free to make a guess. So what sort of spelling should you be using? Is there a rule on that? Yeah, Madan, Tushita, I can see all of your answers. Thank you. It is true. You can use either British or American spellings. Hopefully, you know the difference. I always think that the American spelling mostly is exactly as we say it. They tend to use the Z, the letter Z, or the letter Z, as you say in American English, rather than S, which is there for British. So a lot of few variations there. And I'd suggest that if you're use one or the other, and that's what is recommended by the IELTS board. Okay. Do you think speaking is the most important? That's right, Mihir. Color. Yeah. Yeah, that's false because all parts are equally important. It's 25% per section. All right, very good. It is prominent to help you with your speaking skills, but for the IELTS exam, it doesn't make a difference, right? So it's not the most important part. Yeah. You should use many complex words and linking devices. Yeah, really good to see Tushita, Mihir, all of you saying false. It is good that you should use some good vocabulary to show your expertise in the language, but to use too many is not a great idea. You should only use it when it's relevant. Yeah, absolutely right, Gavin. Yeah, good to see that many of you have said false. I only saw one true answer to this, and Gavin is right. It is you have to sound clear. And so this statement is false. It isn't your accent that's bringing you down, but it's your clarity of speech. We all have different accents wherever we are in the world. So it doesn't really matter, but clarity of speech, really important. Yeah, very good. All right, so generally these are the things I would tell you to keep in mind. And so my first one is this: train your English brain. What do you think this sentence means? What's an English brain? Yeah, very good. That is exactly what I mean. Yeah, think in English, right? Because the problem is, what is the problem? If we think in another language and then try to translate into English while we're doing the exam, what is the problem then? Sentence construction becomes a problem, Gavin. That is correct. You suffer in the speaking because you become slow. Yeah, slow, speed becomes slow. You're not able to have, yeah, you end up making many because, and the reason is there is no direct translation from one language to the other, right? You have to think a lot. So it's better that you start thinking right at the beginning. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very, very good responses from all of you. The grammar also becomes a problem, vocabulary becomes a problem. The turn of phrase, the kind of words that you use in one language will be different from another language. Yeah, fantastic answers, all of you. Okay, so the next thing I'll say is remember, this is you're never out of words. Yeah, I like that comment. Shravani, very nice. Yeah, improve your language skills. At the end of the day, the IELTS is a language exam. It doesn't matter how many strategies, etc. you know. If your language skills are not up to par, you won't be able to. So these two you have to do together. Okay, on one hand, you have to work on your language skills. When I say language skills, I mean improve your vocabulary, work on your grammar, get really, a good grammar book. There are many, many good publications. The Cambridge series has a really good lot of grammar book. So consistently work on your grammar and side by side work on your IELTS exam strategies as well. Okay. What does this mean? Know how the exam is marked. Know how the exam is marked. Pattern of the exam is one of them, but also find out how your examiner is going to decide whether your answer is correct or not correct. Okay, so these are really important as well. And the thing about, so if you're confident with your English, I would say, ignore this last bit of advice if you think your language is pretty good. The thing is with listening and with reading, because the answers are just, if they are precise answers, you can look at the back of the book and check whether the answer is right. But where writing and speaking is concerned, you do need a second opinion. Okay, so if you have somebody who can just check and tell you, yeah, I think your writing is okay or your speaking is okay, that will really help you as well, rather than you deciding. If you're part of some classes, etc., of course, your trainer will be able to help you on this. Okay. Um, in many ways, the IELTS exam is actually a vocabulary test. Okay, but don't take that like so seriously. What I mean is, without words, you can neither read nor can you write. You can't speak either. So at the end of it, you don't want to be lost for words. So do focus on building a good base of vocabulary, right, for the different topics that's there. And there are, distinct topics. And if you go on the IDP website, they'll give you a full list of the common topics that are there in the IELTS exam. So do work on those and have yourself a rich set of words. And how would you do that? When you're reading or when you're listening to anything, right? Whether you're watching a TV show or you're just reading something in English, any word that you see that looks good or any phrase that you see that sounds like something, that sounds interesting, do record it, right? And learn how to pronounce it properly, learn how to use it correctly correctly in the right form. Now, a lot of people do step 1 and step 2, right? But the steps people go off on are they don't review it regularly, and you have to learn to reuse your words in different circumstances. So I used it in my writing. I saw it in my reading. I used it in my writing, but I'm also going to reuse it while I speak. So if you keep doing this consistently and you're quite disciplined about this, you will find that you have an expanded vocabulary and you will see your bands on the IELTS front going up quite a bit. Okay, so that's all it is for my general advice. What I'm hope to do in the next, well, we have 15 minutes in, by 12:30 is to cover these questions. Of course, it is not all the parts of the IELTS exam, and for that we would need a much longer session, or you can log on to other sessions that the IDP IELTS, the IDP team will holds quite regularly. So, any questions so far, please? Just on what I've covered. It's all very general tips. But if you've got any general questions to ask me so far, listening section. Can we get to that, Aditi? If I'm not able to answer it during the section itself, please feel free to ask me, okay? Is there any AI check for the writing section? Yes, you will be checked. You cannot use AI. Yeah. Off-topic doubt, Harsh, I don't know if it is relevant to everybody. Should we print out application? Yeah, all these questions the IDP team will take care of. Rumaiza, right, okay, so I'm going to continue. Right, so hopefully you're familiar with the format. You know that there are 40 questions and you have about half an hour to do the listening. And if you're on a paper-based test, you will have an extra 10 minutes of transfer time. Okay, so this, in general, this is what it is. You would, if you're preparing for the IELTS, you will know. Shruti, no, not for the computer-based test. Okay, so here we are going to do the multiple choice questions. It comes in two formats. Either you can have three options and one correct answer, or you can be asked to choose more than one correct answer. So be careful and have a look. So what will you do when the audio plays? When the audio plays, not Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? I'm sorry, I had a little bump on my internet connection. Okay, hopefully you can hear me. And yeah, what do you do when the audio plays? Question for you. Yeah, listen carefully, start in sync with the new audio. Yeah, all very good. Okay, so here are the few things I would say also to add on to this thing, excellent things that you're mentioning. Don't so sometimes we get quite excited when we hear something that sounds like the correct answer, but it's always a good idea to wait and see whether the answer is correct. Okay, so, and the second point, of course, is that most often, most likely, the questions, the words that you see in the questions are not going to be the exact words that you will see in the, that you will hear. So remember to look for the meaning, right? Okay, Yoshita, you can put it on the chat, please. If you have options, and remember that they don't always come out in the same order, whenever you hear something that is completely wrong, remember to strike it out. And of course, we talked about it. Yes, if you're not sure. Okay. Right. So this is the question we're going to have a look at. And can we make rough notes on the question? Yes, we can. Yes, you can. Yeah. Uh, so what do you do here? Okay, have a look at my question. It says you have some time before the recording begins to get ready. What should you do then? What should you read first, or should you just wait for the recording? You don't get any time to transfer if you're on the computer based. You have to do it directly. All right. So what do we do before? The first thing to do is to read the question and any title that's there. Here, what is the title here in this particular question? You can see that it says spa day, right? So read the question and the title, and this will help you get ready because then you know what the situation is that you're going to listen to. Okay. Also remember to underline the keywords, and on the computer-based one, you have highlighters, so you will be able to mark it on your computer screen. So you can do that even where it is. So work with me, please. Underline the keywords. What would you think are the keywords in this question? Okay. So here we notice carefully that the person that we are being asked to give three and not just one, and that it's a recommendation. The reason why the word recommended is really important is, what is the reason I'm underlining this? Yeah, okay, is because I want you to think that maybe that's not the words that you will hear. Right? So the first thing to do is to think of synonyms. And so instead of, the speaker's not going to say, I recommend that you take these things with you. So it's important that you think of synonyms. So for example, if instead of recommend to take this to the spa, you may hear words like you should take to the spa, you should, or it is advisable to take to the spa, these kind of words. So you should be quite prepared for listening to synonyms. Okay. The next thing to do is to look at all the options clearly. When I say look, that means look at it with concentration, right? And then here in this case, make some predictions, please. So this is the list. What do you think they will recommend, and what do you think seems silly? So are you saying slippers is a good thing or not a good thing? Yeah, so you think that they will recommend some of these. So the reason we're making these predictions is not because we will be correct, right? So sometimes what we predict may be completely wrong, but the advantage of doing it, so don't think that anything that I predict will be correct, will be the correct answer. The advantage of making these prediction is you're making your brain think clearly. Is this a good idea? Is that not good idea? So your brain is now engaged really well with all the options. Okay. So not in this question that I'm going to play for you, but you will, in some questions, you will notice that there will be options where they're all quite similar. So what is the difference here in these three statements? Okay, these words. So is there a difference between them? Contradictory, Gavin? Yes, contradictory, but what I'm not sure what that means. You probably mean something, but I'm not able to follow. Yeah, must bring means it's a rule, you're right. Provided means they will give it to you, and they're not allowed is the opposite of must. That means again it's a rule and you cannot bring it into the spa. Okay, so be clear when you have similar worded options. Okay, and then of course this is one of those things that they do quite a bit in the IELTS. They'll start saying something and then they'll change it to something else using words like however or yet or despite or words like that, these linking words, which completely changes the meaning. And that's the reason we don't get excited as soon as we hear something. Let's wait till the whole, a few sentences are spoken before we decide on the answer. So now I'm going to play it for you. I'd like you to please answer this question, which are the three items that are recommended. Right, so please bear with me and listen carefully.
You will hear a hotel manager talking to a group of guests about the spa day excursion they've booked for the following day. Thank you for booking the luxury spa day. We'll be leaving the hotel at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. But this evening, I just want to run through a few things to ensure that you're well prepared and have a wonderful time. First, towels and bathrobes are provided, so you won't need to take them with you. You're welcome to wear the slippers from your room while you're there, but a pair will be provided when you arrive at the venue. As you'll be enjoying a glass of bubbly in the jacuzzi, a bathing suit is a must. Jewellery is not advisable, so leave your valuables, including your watch, in the hotel safe. Everything is covered in the price you've already paid, so no cash or credit cards will be required. You'll be given a light, nutritious lunch, so you don't need to worry about food. However, I do recommend popping an apple, banana or some grapes in your bag as a healthy snack in case you feel hungry during the afternoon. I also suggest that you take a book to read, but that's up to you. The spa staff advise clients not to apply cosmetics after treatments, so I suggest leaving your lip gloss and eyeliner behind. Of course, you'll look so glamorous after your pamper sessions that you won't need them anyway. Oh, and one last thing. Don't forget your pass, as you won't get in without it. I'll hand them out in a minute, after I've answered any questions you might have.
Okay, that's that. So let's see your answers. Some of you started putting the answers in before the recording was finished, so I don't know how you managed that. Okay, right. So let me show you what I've got here. So the answers are okay. Many of you've got this right, so that's really, really good. It was the fruit ticket and swimming costume. In the actual IELTS exam, will you write down CEH or will you write fruit ticket swimming costume? You write the letters, right? Okay, so don't write the words on the answer sheet if you're doing the paper-based test. Okay, so how did we get the answers? First of all, remember that as you listen, to remove the wrong options from the list. So just a few samples. We heard this towels are provided, so you don't need to take them with you. Okay, so we know that, oh, my alignment has gone wrong. That was supposed to strike out D. Okay, because it's provided, you don't have to take them. So that's not recommended. Sorry, that should have struck out the word towel. Okay, so answer one, how did I get C? If you heard this, if you were listening carefully, you heard the sentence. And because they said this, you know that the answer is fruit because of the words apple, banana, or grapes. Similarly, how did we arrive at E? Don't forget your pass. It came right at the end. Okay. And what's another word for pass? The word is ticket. So that was a synonym. And the final answer we got was H, which said bathing suit. And as many of you said quite right, the other way of saying bathing suit is swimming costume. Okay, so this is the way we arrived at it, a combination of listening to the contrasting word like however, also listening to expansion, not exact words, but listening to synonyms. So essentially, that's what it is. So first of all, read the question really carefully. Find out whether it is a multiple choice type of question. I mean, whether you have to give one answer or multiple answers. It's very important that you notice what the keywords are and think about the synonyms that come up with this. And if there are similar worded options, think what is the difference between allowed and provided? Right? And we talked about this. We said don't look for exact words. And remember always to write the correct letters and not the exact answer words in the answer sheet. Okay, so about the listening, if you have any questions at the moment, I have a few seconds for that. Otherwise, we will move on. On the listening only, please. If you're on a paper-based, yes, you can. If somebody from the IDP team can answer questions about the exam itself, that will be helpful, please. So, for example, Shruti's question and things like that. Whoever's on the IDP team, if you can handle some of these, please. How can we manage the narrative and monologue listening part? These are just other types of questions, Sabha, but essentially it is the same thing, right? You're underlining the keywords, you're looking for the main meanings, and you have to ensure that what you're listening for is not exactly the words that are written in the question paper. Can we write answer in single and plural? I've said that you shouldn't write the answer. But yes, in blank fill and things like that, it has to be correct, grammatically correct. Is there enough time to read the question? Yes. Can you write all answers in capital letters? Yes, you can. Okay. You should write the number, Tushita. You should write it in numerical form, or on the computer-based one, you can select it. I haven't come to writing. Oh, okay. So let's move on to the writing section. Okay, so we know that there are two types. In the first one, you're representing looking at some graphical information. And then in the second, there is an essay. Okay, so for purposes of this training, I'm looking at the academic writing test. Right, so how do you know whether you've written a good bit, a good essay, or you've given a good description of a graph or a picture? How will the examiner decide? Yes, Gavin, it'll be marked incorrect. Yeah, vocabulary is one, Aisha. Anything else? Manjit, that's vocabulary. Anything else? Okay, so here let me show you what you're going to be marked on. Okay, so there's a weightage for 4 different things. Okay, let's start at the right side of this diagram, and you can see it says task achievement or task response. So essentially what the examiner is checking is, this was the question that was given, and has the candidate answered the question exactly as as was asked, or has the candidate given some other kind of answer, right? So did they achieve the task? 25% of your grade is because of coherence and cohesion. Coherence is a fancy way of saying, does it make sense? And cohesion means, are all your ideas connected together? So this is an important aspect as well. Then on the left side, you can see lexical resource, which is words. Have you used the correct words for the topic? Right? And 25% of the marks is for how accurate your grammar is. So all of these are scored equally, and that's how your examiner will mark you. And the examiners are trained, and they have a list, particular scientific method of grading you. So they will give you 25% marks if you've done exactly what the question asked is. And similarly, if you're organized well, you'll get the other 25% marks. If your vocabulary is good and your grammar is good, you'll get the rest of the marks as well. Okay, so it's all very clear. If you want a detailed description of how marks are awarded, please go to the IDP site or the British Council website, actually the IDP site, and download the writing band descriptors. It's there on the website. It's a free download, and you can check yourself what are the important things and what is just rumors. Right? So it's called the IELTS writing band descriptors. It'll give you the full details, exactly how you can get the full marks. How to get a band 8 or band 7 is clearly given to you. Right? I will be focusing today on the cohesion aspect of it. Okay, so there are 5 types of essay questions. Here they are. Okay, and for purposes of this, in the A4 question 2, I'm going to be doing the double question. So I'm going to start with part 2, the task 2, sorry, because some of the things that I mentioned in the second part of the writing also holds good for the first part. So question for you, do you think you should start writing directly or should you plan your essay? And if you say yes, why? If you say no, why? Good grasp of English and you didn't do so well on your IELTS means it's just lack of practice. Okay, so that's a good thing to know. If you practice, you will get higher scores. Also, look at the band descriptors because a lot of the times we are not clear how speaking and writing are being marked, and so we end up doing things that are not really a priority. Plan 5 minutes of planning. Yeah, everybody is saying planning, so that's really, really good. And you're right, it is to get good cohesion. Yeah, very good answers, all of you. Right? If you want to get a good high score, you have to plan. And what do you do in your planning? First thing, underline the keywords, understand really what is it that you're supposed to do. Don't start writing assuming that it is what you think it is. Also, write down a few ideas, note down some vocabulary, and think of how to organize your paragraph. Right, so let's get started on this. This is the question we are going to tackle today. Have a look at it. Okay, so the top bit, you get what's called the rubric, which means what is it that you're supposed to do, and the instructions, which means how are you supposed to do it. So this is the format of the IELTS writing task 2. So as we said, the first step should be underlining the keywords and understanding what you have to do. So what do you think are the keywords? Keywords, of course, means the important words. What are the keywords of this topic? Okay, I'm not underlining it on the screen because, you know, there'll end up being a lot of underlining. So even when you do your underlining or thinking of keywords, don't just keep writing long lines. Just focus on the exact words that are important because otherwise it can end up being really confusing. Okay, popular. I would think really we should start with homeschooling, right? At the end of it, homeschooling is what is important. But of course, everybody has a different opinion on what keywords are. So feel free to underline what you think are the keywords. Okay, so once you've done that, you have to understand what you have to do. So have a look at my screen, please. Do you write about homeschool becoming increasingly popular, which is the first sentence, or do you write about this? Okay, what is the focus? More and more parents are choosing to educate. So what really, should you be writing about this, about the homeschooling aspect or about the choice of parents aspect? That's right. Yeah. So homeschooling, so you will notice all the time. Yeah, the choice. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Correct, 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 correct. Good to hear that. Because a lot of the times what I see is that people start writing about the first sentence. Normally in the IELTS exam, the first sentence is actually a description of the subject rather than the question that you have to tackle. So remember to read it very carefully and think, what is it that I should be writing about? Okay. So I'm glad to see that. So you can see that there is a question here. Why do you think parents might choose? And then there's also a second question. Do you think? Okay, so there's a second question. So there's question 1 to be answered and question 2 to be answered. So what type of essay question is it? I gave you a list of 5 essay type questions. Shravan, all of you, just wait. We are working through it, okay? Double question, Sheena, because there are two questions. It's a double question kind of essay. All right. Oh, did I show that? Yeah. Okay. All right. So the next step, which a lot of people find difficult, is coming up with ideas. So is homeschooling private tuitions like by Jews? Okay, so what? That's a good question. Let's think about what does homeschooling mean, by the way? Anybody? What is homeschooling? Yeah, teaching at home, not being sent to traditional schools. Yeah, teaching at home. Either parents teach or you can attend through Byju's or whatever. But essentially, you're not going to a school building and learning. Yeah, okay. All right, wonderful. Okay, so what are the things by which you create ideas? What is the method that yeah, all good. Education given by parents. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, good, good, good. Okay, what methods do you do for giving ideas? Because if you read, one of the things that you have to do is to give examples in the, you have to justify your opinion, right? Yeah, it can be online classes also. But even in India, you're allowed not to go to school. If your parents say, no, we're not sending a child to school, they can be what is called homeschooled. Okay, can we go step by step, please? So how do you use, what is the methods you use for generating ideas? So there are many ways by which you can do it. If you've got a group of friends, you all can sit and chat together and think of ideas together. If you're a logical kind of person, you can do what's called mind mapping. You write a main idea and then think of branching off of different ideas. If you're sitting alone, you can think, oh, what if my best friend was here? If we were discussing this topic, what would he or she say? Or you can think of an example first. Okay. So what will parents, what is the opinion of parents? Okay. I don't have a child, but my friend has children. So what will my friend say in such case? So think of an example first and then work through it. Okay. Now, these are all very different ways, but it is something that you needn't be stressed about. I always say the ideas don't have to be unusual. They don't have to be completely out there. You can use simple everyday examples that whatever comes to your mind is a good idea. So my strong suggestion is don't spend too much time on coming up with ideas. You just think, do I agree? Do I disagree? And you give yourself a time limit, right? Don't spend more than 2 to 3 minutes thinking of ideas. Give two reasons why someone would agree. Give two reasons why someone would disagree with whatever the question is. This should be a general IELTS strategy. 2 minutes, make up your mind and say this. And remember that in the IELTS exam, how creative you are is not being checked. Is your language good? Is your idea being expressed properly? That is all that is being checked. So don't spend a lot of time on thinking about ideas. Okay, in the next step, we'll write down the ideas and then we'll also note down some vocabulary, which I'm not going to at the moment, but we will. You should have thought of some appropriate vocabulary as well, because, you know, in the stress of writing, sometimes the right words don't come to you. So before you start writing itself, write down the kind of words that you think will be apt here. Can we give personal life experiences? Yes, you can. What role does handwriting play here? You should write clearly if you're handwriting it. If you think your handwriting isn't great and it's not legible, feel free to write in block letters or capital letters, whatever. Okay, so then think of step 3, as I said, is thinking of an organization. Okay, so have a look at this. And if you modify it, this is structure for any kind of essay question. Many people will have other ways of doing it. Feel free to use any structure. This is the structure that I recommend because I think it's really straightforward. But feel free to use any structure. There is no recommended structure given by the IELTS organization. You can write it in any way you want. But I find that if we have an idea, what should I do first? What should I do second? What should I do third? It makes it a little easier. So let's see what this means. Okay. So right at the beginning, in the first paragraph itself, I always recommend write your answer to both the questions. And then in the next two paragraphs, you answer both these questions, right? What's your answer to question 1? What's your answer to question 2? Remember to develop your ideas, okay, by giving an explanation and also give examples for the explanation and then end up with a conclusion. Okay, so this is my recommended structure. The reason why I recommend this is it's really important that your message be followed with ease. So it should be structurally correct. This is what the band 7 writing and band 8 writing says. It always talks about clear progression, clarity. Clarity is always repeated everywhere. So to make it really clear, Ayush, I'm not familiar with pestle technique. Feel free to use any technique, okay? Right. Here we go. So let's think of some ideas. Paragraph 1, give 2 reasons for parents choosing homeschooling. So can you quickly give me some ideas why any parent would choose homeschooling? Okay, Sheena, great. You can focus on the child. Attention. Yeah, really, really good ideas coming up. Transport. Yeah, very good, very good. You avoid bad company. Excellent, excellent security. Yeah, really excellent ideas. See how within a few seconds you've come up with ideas by yourself. So I will say give 2 reasons. Give, whatever ideas come into your head, just put it down. These are the ideas that came to me. Okay, so you can have different ones. Some of you have mentioned something similar. Now, should you write about all these points? Of course not, right? So once you've got a few ideas, how do you decide which to choose? You should pick the one that you think you have an example for. So for example, I think if I write about flexibility, I have a better chance of getting an example. So I think of an example. I say, okay, child who prefers to study outdoors, they can study with their parent in the house inside a garden. Is this a great idea? No, it isn't. I just thought of it really, really quickly. I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about it. But is it relevant to the question? Yes. So then I'll just write about it. Okay. So you may have even better ideas. Do that. But remember that nobody is giving you extra marks for brilliance of ideas. It should be relevant. That is all. Okay. Give me 2 reasons why you think homeschooling is beneficial. I've said 2. Give as many reasons as you want, and then do the same thing. Shortlist and pick one from the list that you have. This was question 2. Right? So what is your opinion? Do you think it's more beneficial? Let me see some of your ideas. Yeah, peer group. Some of the questions you're asking is based on things. If you pay attention, we will be covering all the important points. So perhaps just listen. We are still on ideas. We've not started writing yet. So asking about paragraphing at the moment is not required. Yes, allows for the child to have a personalized. No. So some of you are saying no, some of you are saying yes, and that's perfectly okay. Team building, very good. So some of you are saying, so remember, it is a do question. So we have to clearly say yes or no. I said no, okay, for these reasons. And then again, I think, what do I have as an example? And then I think, oh, recently my child was doing a project. And so I thought that is an example I can use. And so I'm using this as my thing. So I'm not going to write about professional teachers. I'm not going to write about interaction outside home. I've focused on this idea called teamwork. So now I've got 2 ideas. I'm ready to start writing. Okay. So if you remember, the structure of the introduction went like this. Yeah, very good. I can see you've all got really, really good ideas. Okay, so ideas are good. Remember to have an example as well that will go with it, right? So if you remember, this is the structure. As I said, if you will see in point number 1, introduction, I put in square brackets, topic, sentence, introduce the subject. I put it within brackets to say it's not needed. You don't have to give an introduction to the subject. You can start with point 2, which is paraphrasing the question. Now, what does the word paraphrasing mean? What does the word paraphrasing mean? Okay, it just means write it in your own words. Yeah, very good, very good. So there are two ways of doing. Either you can change the wording itself by using other words, or you can change the entire structure of the sentence itself and use different grammatical structure and do it, right? But I often find that it's much easier to just change the words. So I wrote a topic sentence as getting a school education is a fundamental. So you see, now we are starting the writing process. And as I said, this is not required. Now I look at the question. This is the question, right? Homeschooling is becoming increasingly popular. How will you rephrase it? Is it good if we write in passive voice? Yeah, passive voice is a good tense to use. But again, in the writing descriptor, if you look, Yoshita, it doesn't say you have to only use passive voice. Yeah, you can use. Okay, how do you rephrase this? Okay, this is the way I've done it. If you've got any other ways, I'll be happy to see. Homeschooling is preferred by parents. Yeah. Neeraj, yeah, I've heard it's not going to give you any extra marks. It was famously said and all of that. You can do it. These are ways we are taught in school, not to use personal program experiences. So, Anita, my answer to you and to anybody who says, I have heard many people say, don't do this, don't do that. Please look at the IELTS writing band descriptors. It tells you clearly. If it doesn't say do not use personal pronouns or personal experiences, don't use it. I only refer to that. It doesn't say that. So I always advise my students, use personal experiences. Okay, to many of these questions, I will say how many cohesive devices, please look on the IELTS writing band descriptors. It doesn't say, which means we should use whatever is required. Yeah, okay, so I can see many of you have written many different ways. So very good, this is the way I did that. And then I said, state the answer to both the questions. So how did I do that? I'm going to give the answer to question 1 and the answer to question 2, both of which we decided. Okay. Some parents think homeschooling has more flexibility for their children. Okay. Answer to question 2. In my opinion, going to school is a much better option because students learn about working in teams. So the answer is given right in the introduction itself. This is my suggestion to you because it makes it more cohesive. But if you don't want to do it, as I said, there are many other structures you can use. So flexibility, I'd already decided was one reason, working in teams. So I mention it right at the beginning in the introduction itself. Okay, so this is how my introduction looks, and you get a word count of 70. Okay, now we move on to the main body paragraphs. So I've just expanded on the flexibility thing for the first paragraph. And because I said, for example, a child who loves nature and being outdoors, okay, so they're not confined within the four walls. So I've tried to use some good vocabulary which is specific to the topic: strict school schedule, comfortable environment, etc. And as you can see, there are not many sentences. I've done it with 3 sentences, and it is a combination of a short sentence. My first sentence is short. My second 2 sentences are quite long. And that's a good idea to show your range of vocabulary, to show that you can make complex sentences. Try and make 1 or 2 long sentences. And of course, for this, you can use linking devices, cohesive devices, etc. You have to study all of that, look through a good vocabulary book and learn it. But is there an answer to how many should I use? No, there is not. Okay. Okay, so similarly, you should do something like that for the second paragraph as well. To elaborate, to commence with, yeah, okay. How do we know the word count if you're writing on paper? Yeah, Aisha, you won't know. You should count it. Can we make up some, yeah, good question. Hitansh has asked, can we make up some random data or statistics to suggest? Yes, you can. You can just give some random data or statistics. Nobody is going to check whether it is true or not. What they want to know is A, if it is relevant, and B, whether it is likely that such a survey or data is likely to be true. That's all, right? If it is relevant, please feel free to make up any example, any survey, any reference to a magazine. It needn't be true. Dhokar, I've answered this question. Yes. 250 word limit, please. Okay. So then let's talk about writing a conclusion. You should use a concluding phrase in conclusion, or can you give me something else? Yes, you can. Yes, you can, Gavin. Is it prohibited for the word count to exceed beyond the given limit? It's not prohibited. Nobody is going to stop you. Yeah, sum up to put it all together. Finally, yeah, very good, very good. Don't learn too many. Just one or two is enough, right? Just one is enough. You're only going to write one essay, right? Okay, so it's not prohibited, but keep to the limit, because you really don't have time to write so much. And if you're writing so much, that means, you must have put some irrelevant information. So somebody's put there about 10% to 60 to 70 words are all right, but don't go too much beyond that. It's a waste of time. Yeah, good, Tushita. Yeah. Yes, Deshna, you do get an automatic count, right? Okay. Then what you do is once again state both your opinions, and then you give a summary of your main ideas. So don't make any new points, don't give any examples in the conclusion, and equally importantly, don't write too much. Why am I saying give a summary and reiterate your opinion? Because if you want to get those higher bands, one of the important things that is said is cohesion is well managed. When we say cohesion, it means everything should stick together, everything should have a logical flow. Okay, and hence my advice to you. Okay, so what is one way by which we can write a conclusion? You will notice that this is actually a rephrasing of the introduction. So just use your introduction itself, rephrase it, say it in other words. Yes. So, Deepika, just listen to my advice, please. Right now, it is what I'm telling you. Take your introduction once again, change the words completely, change the structure, and then rewrite it again as an enforcement of all your points. And that makes a really, really good conclusion. Okay. So those are my bits of advice to you. Is it recommended to repeat the main points, words like homeschooling? Yeah, that's a good question. Homeschooling, I can't think of other words, right? What other words are there that you can use for homeschooling? So some like technical words, really. If you don't find any substitute, yeah, just feel free to use that. Like if there's a question with internet or download, what else are we to use? So yeah, it's technical words are perfectly okay. Okay, so these are the problems. Repeated vocabulary, so that will reduce your score if you keep using the same words again and again. But doesn't mean words like homeschooling, for example. There's no other substitute. So do develop a good range of vocabulary. Also learn how to write both simple as well as long sentences. Okay, quickly, I'm going to take you through task one. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this. Okay, here are the 5 steps that I would suggest. First and foremost, go to the writing band descriptors, find out how people mark the task one, learn how to paraphrase your question. Importantly, learn how to write an overview, write the details. Okay, that's it for task one. And of course, proofread. Oh, I should have put proofread in the previous one as well. I missed doing that. Remember that you must leave 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes to proofread so that you don't make unnecessary spelling, grammar mistakes, etc. Okay, so here is a question that I'm going to show. To you, you can see that this is the general format of the IELTS writing task 1. And this is the accompanying diagram. Okay, this is the question. All IELTS questions will ask you 3 things. One, summarize the information. It doesn't say tell me all the information. It says summarize it. Okay, only report on the main features and make comparisons. So these are the 3 important things that one has to do in that. So have a look at this figure. It's not all very clear, I know that, but hopefully you can make out. But this is available on the official website, so please go have a look at it. Okay, so this is what it is. This is the question. So you can see that it's all internet downloads and it's from long ago. So it's an old question, but it's a great one for practice. Okay. So as hopefully you noted down, the first thing I recommend is that you paraphrase the question. We've done paraphrasing so many times now. So how will you paraphrase the question here? Oh, somebody's asked for the previous one. I'm just going to show it to you. I can't go too much at the back. Hopefully this is what you wanted, Simran. Okay. Question is, how do you paraphrase the question? And so you can see that I choose these. I'm not changing the word internet. I'm not changing the word USA. But some of these words have changed. Chart, I make it more specific. I say bar graph. Instead of show, I've used the word depict. Yeah, good. Okay, so instead of 1999 to 2008, I've checked how many years it is, and I've said it's 10 years. You can even use words like for a decade, etc. Yeah, illustrates, depicts, all of those words are okay. Yeah. So the next step, and the really important step, is to write an overview. And the overview means this is really important for us to understand. When you say overview, it is what you see visually, what stands out to you when you look at it, not looking at the data in detail, but just what appeals to you. So in a case like this, like if it's a bar chart, I recommend that and the reason why we say that overview is really important, look at this. Everywhere it says, if you look at band 5, if you give every detail mechanically with no clear overview, you will only get a band 5. But if you want a higher band, you must present a clear overview of the main trends, right? So for task achievement to be high, you have to write a good overview, right? So when I say overview, these are some of the things that you may like to look at. For example, look at this. So for me to find out the trends, what I do is I try and draw lines like this. Up or down, all the figures. Oh, I mean, all the lines. Yuvraj, the USA, that's true. That is the way, the USA, the United Kingdom. There are a few countries like that. I think it's the words probably that have United in front of them or something like that. But that's the reason, right? So these things you have to look up and learn on your own. But other countries, you're right, you don't have the in it. No, look at it overall. Have a first look at overall, right, Amrita? So what do you see? It's all going up, but is there anything going down? Yes. The music, some of you have noted that the music has gone down. The music component, okay, not the music is incorrect English, but the music component has gone down. What shows the highest growth? Games are going up. Yeah, everything's going up except for music that goes down. What shows the highest growth? Yes, games are right. And can you see anything that goes up and down? Or, I mean, in the games, do you see that it's going straight up, or is there any up and down movement? Yeah, it goes slightly up and down. And what was the lowest growth? Lowest growth you see will be in movie purchase. So if you see all of that, it is what I can see. Yeah, yes, Deshna. So what you see is what you're going to describe, not the data, right? So when we write the overview, that is what I'm looking at. I first, okay, so this is what this converts to. We saw the values were all going up. So going up, so how can we say that? I've written overall growth, okay, experienced overall growth. What other words can you use? You can use words like across the board increase, words like that. Any other words if you have? I'll be happy to see. Surged, steady growth. Surged is a sudden increase, okay? So I don't think that would be correct for all of them. Significant, yeah, all right, all good, all good. Okay, and we also said sales had the highest growth. So how can we express that in other words? Yeah, that's a good thing. Substantial growth, increasing, positive, yeah, very good. But I want to say that it had the biggest increment, right? Because, yeah, you can say surge in sales as far as games was concerned, right? And I've also said despite some fluctuation. Instead of fluctuation, what other words can we use? Band score for all of them is from 0 to 8. Swings, yeah, setbacks, very good, very good. Yeah, all of these words. And you can see that I linked it with contrast words like despite some fluctuation. If you use words like that, you can make a longer sentence. I used despite, I used while, all in the same sentence. I used it accurately, because of which I got a really long sentence. So learn how to create sentences correctly. Again, as I say, these are powerful words. Don't overuse them. Use them only when it is required. So that's how we write the overview, a total of 65 words. And then we can support them with details. When I say details, you either compare games and music. Okay. And you can see some of the words that I've used there. Music sales consistently outpaced, for example. And then I say except for, steady decline. So if you use all these words, so first notice the difference. You compare the two, games and music. So that means we're only looking at the yellow with the black border and the yellow, that's sort of brownish with the green border. Concentrate on those and see how we can write it. Okay, so essentially that's the way we do it. And then you can give more details by either comparing the other two variables, or you can compare some years like this. You can do 99, 2005, and 2008. The reason I've chosen it is beginning, end, and then you can see some dips in 2005. So when you write about this, then you can start quoting some figures, use the actual values that are given in 2002. This is the value of the downloads. It's 2.5. It used to be this, and then it became that kind of thing. Okay, so clear overview. I can't emphasize that enough. And do not write all the details. And always, these questions are really simple. Don't try to see too much into it. What you see is really what you should write about. And it's the logical information ordering as well as your vocabulary that is important here. If you've got some questions, I have a few seconds for that. Otherwise, we will move on. I hope I've answered the questions you wanted me to. How to tackle with unknown topics. Yeah, if you don't know the topic, it becomes difficult to write. There is not going to be something drastically different, anything that you should, if you're writing the academic exam, that means you are going to a foreign university to study. And if you're doing that, then you should know about, let's say, cryptocurrency. You should have a little bit of knowledge. And it's not going to be some technical question, it's going to be your personal opinions most of the time. So having a good knowledge about what environment or technology or social structures like society. If you go online, you will see there are 10 or 15 topics. I said this before, 10 or 15 topics that normally comes up in the IELTS exam, including environment and things like that. You should have some ideas on all of these. You can't write. If you have no idea, you can't write. But I've never, ever found that somebody doesn't have an ideas. You always have ideas. Previous slide, Harsha. Here we go. Will we get process diagram maps? Yeah, you may get that. Yes. How many paragraphs should we write in task 1? You can write the introduction, the overview, and 2 more paragraphs. Again, there is, nobody says this, but 3 to 4 paragraphs should do this. These are all evaluated by human beings, no AI. Dhruv, I'm sorry, I'm not covering general module, but you can look up online. IDP IELTS has all the information you need. No conclusion is needed deeply for task 1. Okay, Anushka, you should work on this basic information that's there, and there's enough advice available on the websites for you, right? All right, let's quickly move on to the speaking section. There are 2 incorrect, oh, sorry. There are 2 incorrect statements here. Please have a look and tell me which are the 2 incorrect statements. There are 2 incorrect statements. Which are they? Okay, these are the incorrect ones. It is the examiner who asks the question, who will also evaluate your speaking. This is really a very good advantage of doing the IELTS exam as compared to other exams where you do by AI or you get some foreign examiner listening to your answers, things like that. This is really good because they're familiar with your accent, they know what you're saying, etc. So it's a good advantage for you. And you don't have to control the time. The examiner will do that. If you're talking for too long, the examiner will smile at you or say something like, okay, thank you, that'll do. That's not, that is in no way a disadvantage for you. So when you get an indication from the body language of the examiner that your time is up, just conclude what you're saying or stop speaking. That means they have enough information and they can evaluate your speaking. You don't have to feel bad, oh, I wanted to say more. It's all right. Okay, so here are the parts, part 1, part 2, and part 3. For purposes of this workshop, I'm only going to look at part 3 at the moment. Again, you can see that there are these 4 criteria and all quite similar to what we discussed in the writing, but please do download the speaking band descriptors for all the details. I will be talking to you now about fluency for the next few minutes. Question for you, does it mean speaking without a pause at all? No, they won't let you speak more than the given time. So yeah, I don't have to worry about that. Yeah, okay. It doesn't mean that you have to speak like a machine gun. You can take a pause, right? But fluency is important. And some of the problems that I see with people is for not being fluent is this. Your brain and your words are not matching because you're talking too quickly. So reduce your pace of speaking. You're trying to think of ideas while you're speaking, it's always better for you to pause for a minute, think of what you want to say, and then do it. Just like in the writing section, you don't have to come up with brilliant ideas, just basic, everyday, relevant ideas is more than enough. Not having a structure, this is really important. That means for every question, you should have an idea. What should I say first? What should I say first as an introduction? What should I say in the middle? So have a structure, just like we had an essay structure, have a structure for every part. Okay, and while you're speaking, don't focus too much about your grammar or vocabulary. You should practice your grammar and vocabulary separately, right? Not while you're speaking, don't think too much about it. But mostly if you're not fluent, it's because you're not practicing enough, right? So let's think about how we can prepare a structure for part 3. Let's say there's a question like this. So my advice is give your answer. Do you think tourism is good for your country? Yes, I do, or no, I don't. Give that answer first. In the second step, you say why. And for the why, you say another why. And then you give an example. So in part 3 questions, try and follow this structure. It always makes it easier because then you don't have to think, oh, how should I answer this? You already know how you should answer it, right? Okay, so for example, you can say, yes, I believe the tourism industry is excellent for our country. You will notice that I've tried to change the word tourism to tourism industry. And then instead of saying good, I've said excellent. Instead of saying for our country, you can say for India. The advantage of doing that, of course, is that you're telling the examiner, I know other words. I don't need the words that you use to help me. I do know other words. Okay, I also give an explanation. So you can think of any explanation. Okay, so I've just put together some thoughts that were here. I've said why, and then for the why, I add one more why. So for example, I've said it's a source of livelihood. And then why is it a source of livelihood? Because more jobs are created. So I've given what is a well-rounded explanation, and always a good idea for you to give an example as well. Okay, so maybe Rajasthan, your own hometown, all of that. You can also say no. You can say it's not a good idea as well, as long as you can give an explanation and you give an example. Again, as I said, this is a structure I recommend. There are many other ways of answering this. Feel free to use whatever you are personally comfortable with. Okay, so here are some of the problems that students often or candidates often say. I can't understand the question. Is there anything else? What are the other problems that you find with part 3? Whether we should concentrate on fluency over accent, you will notice that pronunciation is one of the aspects by which you are going to be. It's 25% weighted, so you have to concentrate on improving everything. Yoshita, if you speak well, that's really good. Okay, nobody's answering my question, but what are some of the problems that that candidates face? So here it is. Here is what most people that I speak to say. Okay, so if you can't understand the question that the examiner asks, okay, Anjita, if you wait, I'm going to give you an answer to that. If you don't understand the question, feel free to ask for a clarification. Say, could you say that again, please? Can you tell me what the word status means? You can even ask that, to ask for an explanation for what a word they used, or say, can you use another word, please? You can't do this too many times. But if you genuinely don't know just one word meaning or something, feel free to ask the examiner. Okay, and you can say, can you repeat the question, please? That sort of thing. What do you do if you don't know the answer? Okay, you can buy some time, or you can say, that's an interesting question. For both of these, don't know the answer. If you can't think fast enough, feel free to think about it a little while by buying some time for yourself. Use some of these phrases. Right? I'm sorry, my thing is a little out of line. If there is repetitive vocabulary, You must learn how to paraphrase, which means that you should learn some new words. Again, giving short answers. If you always giving short answers, remember the structure I gave you. Give an explanation, give an example. And the last one always that people say is, I don't know what to expect. But these are the 7 ways in which you can prepare. Learn how to give an opinion, learn how to evaluate somebody else's opinion, cause and effect, hypothetical situations, which means you have to learn how to use the English conditional structure, talking about past and future. So normally this is what it is. These are all given on the IDP website. So feel free to look at it, think of suggestions about. So don't know what to expect should not be a reason for not doing well in part 3, because these are what you can expect. And if you go on the official website, you know what the topics are as well. Ideal time in seconds or minutes should be done. I'm sorry, it is not written on the website, so I won't know. It doesn't say ideal time, but obviously you can be sensible about it and think, okay, I think I can take maybe a few seconds. All right, do remember to practice. Even if you don't have a speaking partner, you should record yourself and analyze yourself, ask somebody to give you feedback, etc. Here it is, Mihir. This is my answer to you if you're preparing for yourself. If one of the things is just to keep speaking to yourself in English all the time, speak aloud, your everyday thoughts. Oh, let me go out. I better go and make my dinner. Or it's time for me to sit down and do a little bit of reading. And you know, these kind of everyday thoughts that come into your mind, instead of leaving it in your mind, say it in English. If you're watching any videos, if you watch Netflix or any other English channels, you watch it and then summarize and say what you saw. You should constantly be recording yourself and listening to yourself and checking, oh, did this answer the question? Was it clear? If you've got a friend, just ask them to check whether your pronunciation, etc., was okay. I've got a few seconds for this. Harsha, I'm sorry, I can't answer this. I know you're going on saying this, but somebody from IDP will answer this to you. The IELTS examiners are from India. It doesn't necessarily say idioms, it doesn't say phrasal verbs, but all of these are good for vocabulary. If you look at the speaking descriptors, it will say that you should use a good range of vocabulary. Vinay, I'm also answering it. Somebody from IDP will get back to you. Is it okay to ask the examiner a question? You can ask them a question, but mostly the questions will all be very clear. How to avoid fumbling? Fumbling can be avoided by practice. What books do you recommend for IELTS? The Cambridge books are really, really good. Go on the websites. You will get the necessary information. If you're not familiar with the question, you can say something like, I'm not sure whether this is what you are asking, but I think this is the answer. Okay, so none of them will be technical questions. So you will be able to answer. Some stop candidates while they are giving answers. If they're stopping you, that means your time is up. You just stop and say thank you. How to know which questions we have to talk for a short time, like 2 minutes, and some for long. 4 minutes is a really long time. I don't think you need to talk for 4 minutes, but always look at the examiner. The examiner will indicate to you, if they're still looking like they want you to continue talking, you can continue to talk, otherwise stop. I can't think I'm giving you tips and advice. I don't know what else I'm doing. So if you say, can you give tips and advice? That's what I'm doing. Okay, Vinay, can you tell me how many hours? I don't know your current language levels, Vinay, so I'm sorry, I can't answer that. Yes, the examiner will just ask you, yeah, what is your name and things like that, yeah. Okay. Is accent important? Yes, it is important, but not to change your accent, but to speak clearly. Okay, we're going on to the reading section because a lot of the things, can you think for 5 seconds and answer? My answer to this is always look on the speaking band descriptors. If you wait for 5 minutes, if you're showing a lot of hesitation, right? Obviously, that shows the a little bit of lack of fluency, perhaps. So if you're just waiting for 5 seconds like this, I would think that's not a good idea. But if you can tell the examiner, please give me a moment to think of this answer. I haven't thought of it before. You can take a few seconds and talk. Right? Fill the essentially the examiner should know why you're waiting. Deepak, this is meant for the IDP team. Let them answer this for you. Okay, so we only have now 7 minutes. Let's quickly go through some reading strategies. The question about how many months, how long should I prepare for is not something that I can answer because I don't know you personally, what you're speaking, your language levels are. So this is not something I can answer. But in general, if you want to move from one band score to the other, it really depends on how much work you put in, whether you're reading enough, how many hours of work you're putting in. So I'm sorry, there's no answer like that. But in general, if you're thinking, okay, I'm not feeling confident, generally the scores I'm writing when I do my reading and listening, for example, a lot of things are wrong. Then I would say maybe you're not ready yet. Why not wait if you can? Yeah, there's no point in just going and saying, okay, let me try my best. You can, but then if you really want to improve, give yourself time. Okay. So in the reading strategies, I will advise you to read instructions really carefully, be familiar with similar to listening, identify the keywords and look at the synonyms. You should also do skimming and scanning. Skimming, which means, of course, looking really quickly and trying to find the overall meaning, for example, of what you're doing. Scanning is looking for particular words. You should practice all these techniques if you want to improve your strategies. Sorry, your reading speed, not strategies. Okay. So in the reading test, there are, of course, 3 sections and 1 text per section. But let's look at the true, false, not given type. In this, you'll be given a text and a set of statements, and you have to say whether it is true. That means it matches exactly. False if it is not matching and it's actually against the statement. And if you cannot say whether it is true and you cannot say if it is false, that means it is not given. So let's look at a simple example. So this is what the text is, and these are the statements. Please let me know if these are true, false, or not given. Yeah, follow the instruction. If they've told you to write yes, no, you should write yes and no, not true and false. Yeah, all these are really important. You can't just write whatever you want. Okay, so here are the answers. Okay, does the boy love bananas? Yes, because it says so. Do we know if apples are the boy's favorite fruit? It may be, it may not be. We don't know, so we say not given. Hates bananas? No, it's the opposite of love, so it's false. Bananas are yellow. Yes, it's true, but it's not given in the text, so we say not given. Okay, so here are a set of 3 statements that we have to look at first, and I will show you the text soon. This is what the instructions look like. Okay, and this is the text. If you want, you can take a screenshot of it, but I will show it to you again. Okay, so the first thing to do is to preview the text, which means have a look at the headline, try and think what could this text be about? What could this text be about? What does the word four-leg companion mean? Okay, so if you've done a bit of reading, then if your vocabulary is fairly all right, you know that four-leg companion normally means a dog, a pet. Yeah, true. Okay. So this person is saying that dogs should be allowed in the classroom. So then we can also look at the first paragraph. Just read the first few lines so you get a feel of the text. So don't start reading the whole text from the beginning. Have a quick look at the first paragraph and try and understand what the text feels like. So your brain is getting ready. After you've done that, you can, if you like, read the conclusion. Some people like to do that, but directly now go towards the question. Okay, once you've thought about what is the text about, you do that. Then have a look at the question. So the first question says, main theme of the seminar was pets in school. Right, so look at the keywords, right? And think of synonyms. So for example, instead of seminar, what can we think of as keywords? Synonyms, not keywords, synonyms. Seminar, what synonyms can you have? You can have words like conference or anything else, right? Okay. So this is the text. Have a read and see the word conference is there. Check and see whether it is about pets in school or is it about something else. Read the paragraph. So is the conference about pets in school? Okay, I'm going through this really quickly now. You can see that it is about this. It is not about pets in school, and hence this is false. Okay, I'm going through it really quickly, but feel free, please, to have a look at this question. If you said true, it is because you only read the first question and it said should have a dog or another pet, but the actual answer is false. Okay. Online platforms have a negative effect. You can again think about synonyms. What can, for example, online platforms mean? What is a synonym that we can look for? Normally in text, you can see words like social media, etc. Right? So let's have a look. Yes, we can see words like social media are given there. Instead of young people, there is teenagers. So we know that this is the right paragraph that we should be reading. Have a read again. Are there words that mean negative effect? You can see lots of words that imply that social media has a negative effect. And therefore, you can say that this sentence is true. Okay, now we finished para 1 and para 2. We can now start concentrating on para 3. There is this. This is the question. Right? Instead of pets in, so look for these words. Is there mention of pets in school? Is there mention of mental health issues? So if you read carefully and intensely, can you say whether this is true, false, or not given? Yes, it mentions all of these. It does say that. Okay, we may tend to say true, but if you look at it, there is the word evidence. There is no evidence given in this paragraph, okay? It is just one person's opinion. Because there is no evidence, we have to say not given. Okay, so this is what it is about true, false, and not given. These are the steps you should follow. Be sure, but this is what I would say really, be very clear that every part of the sentence that is given should be true if you're marking it true. And any part of the sentence, if it is not matching the information, you can say it is false, right? And if you don't know whether it is, if any part of the sentence is not given in the text at all, then you must say it is not given. Okay, So anything that we've covered so far, I'm online for the next minute or so. Please feel free to put your chat. Shahina, I'm sorry, that isn't the scope of this. There are lots and lots of types of questions. You must look online. I can't give you like a capsule in that, right? But generally, compare and contrast is what you should do. Learn, compare, and contrast. Please share the evidence not given slide again. Yeah, I can show you that. In the true false not given, Sabha, yes, they are in chronological order. No, well, chronological, I don't know what that means, but it is in order. Yeah. You can use block letters if you want. Kushi, you should study from everything. No, you shouldn't give your opinion, Sainika. One slide previously. Sorry, Deepak. It is in the order. In true, false, not given, it is given in order. Any other questions? Well, can more than one question come from one paragraph? Normally, I haven't seen that. Yeah, I don't think there's any. Yeah, no, not normally, but yeah. Yes, no, not given are the same. Yeah, they are similar. They are similar. Can we attempt a module in any order? Yes, you can. Shahina, most of the other summary type question, for example, doesn't follow the order. Is there a variety of questions? Always, yes. Tanmay, you should look. There is about 14 types of questions. Yeah. If somebody from IDP can say whether this recording can be available, because a lot of people are asking this and I don't know. How do we increase speed of reading?
Nina, we are recording it, but I need to check with the
Yeah,
concerned team how
yes.
they are going to share it. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
If we'll share, they'll get it on their registered email IDs, maybe.
Absolutely. I hope you heard that, whoever was asking. Can you talk about speaking exams on video calls? Okay. There's 6 questions in total. Will each answer come twice? I'm so sorry, Dipti, I can't follow what you're saying. Okay, Jordan, thank you. Okay, Gavin. Reading speed, Rupsa, the only way to increase reading speed is to read. Okay, and learn to read not word by word, but to read in, don't read word by word, learn to read in chunks. Your eye should scan and pick up words in groups. That's what you should do. Are all the 40 questions based on one reading? No, Aisha, they're based on 4 different texts. You don't have to talk about India, home city always, or should it be any? Yeah, please feel free to use any country you want as an example. As I said, there is no right and wrong answer. It is only relevant answer, right? So I hope you understand the difference. There is no, I have to answer like this or I have to answer like that. There is no such thing. It has to be relevant to the question. Okay. All right. So Amandeep, shall we close then? I think speaking details, how to efficiently tackle match the heading. I'm afraid I didn't do it in this session, but to do match the heading question, you try and read a paragraph and try and find a match by yourself. Try and think of the heading by yourself, right? That's what I always say. Read a paragraph, try and think of a heading by yourself, and then look at the list and see that there is a similar looking heading. That is a way that I would suggest. I'm facing problems in non-sequencing questions, especially MCQ and matching ideas with. So in matching ideas with a person, what you should do is look at the number of times, let's say you look at a paragraph where that person is mentioned more than once or twice. So try and tackle that first. So let's say a name like George is mentioned 4 times in one paragraph. You read that paragraph first, because that means that is where George's opinion has been expressed most number of times. So once you finish George, then you look at somebody whose frequency is a little less, then a little less. So that's the way to do it. Do we get more practice papers on the website? Yes, there are lots of practice papers available, not only on the IDP website, look on the British Council website as well. But the IDP website has quite a lot of information already. Okay, then. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, you've been great participants.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you for the
All right.
wonderful.
Amandeep,
All
will
the
you
best.
just answer this question? People have
Which
been
one?
asking if there is a computer-based test, are they given some paper? I think they are.
Yes, and
Paper,
I
yeah.
have, we have replied this question
Yeah,
n number
yeah,
of
okay.
times within the session. I
That's
don't
what
know
I
why
said.
they are not clear on it. Yes, you do get rough paper, but you need to make sure that all the answers are transferred on computer before the time is over, because no extra time will be given for the transfer, right? And thank you all for the session. See you.